Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and change out the water and add some nutrients. Now that the seedling is no longer a seedling, it's actually turning into a plant here. And there might have been 2 seeds that actually germinated in that one pot, which is why it looks like there's a split down the center. Normally they don't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this tube, put a little water, all you do to do that, I don't know if you could see that, was just basically bend the tube out and it gives you, it basically dumps the water out of the bucket. So I'm going to take this sample of this water and I'm going to test it. Move this out of the way, I don't know if I can see that. Alright, so I'm going to test this water using a TDS, just a digital TDS. Now what this should do, I'm going to turn it on. It's at 0 ppm. Stick it in the water above the line. 384 ppm, so that's 384 parts per million. And on the back of your nutrients, it's going to tell you what your ppm should be. Now for early growth, you want about 500 ppm, and your seedlings usually want about 250. So the water has turned a little toxic, so we're going to go ahead and dump the water, and we're going to add new nutrients. And what that's going to do is help flush out all the mineralization and everything in this bucket. And we're going to go ahead and put in some water and make sure that we're at the right parts per million. So give me a minute and I'll be right back to you. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the bucket. I've already dumped the water. And at this point we should theoretically have roots coming out of the bottom. And here we go.
Awesome!
Pretty cool.
Yeah, Daddy, that's amazing.
So it looks like we've got a lot of sediment down there from washout. So let's put this back down for a second. And really don't want to lay this down so that the roots touch anything, so I'm going to put this on a bowl. Just like that. I'm going to clean up the bowl. Alright, so in general, your parts per million can also increase not just with your chemicals, but with any particulate that's in the water, including any fall off from your clay pellets. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in. And you'll notice that the roots were a little brown. That's because I waited too long to put the fresh water in. And so now we're going to go ahead and put in some fresh water. We're going to go ahead and mix up a batch of the nutrient. And this is going to be 1 teaspoon per gallon. We are going to probably put in, I would say, geez, that's 3 quarts, so probably, it's a 5-gallon bucket, I would say at least 2.5 gallons of water. So I'm going to take fresh water, I'm going to pour it on the top here. And if you're using this style bucket, you can tell how much water you have as you fill it up through the top, through this hose here, and that gives you an indication directly relating to the water level inside the bucket. For this next batch though, I am going to go ahead and put in 1 teaspoon And I'm going to use the funnel for this. So I'll put my funnel into the hose. Now the way I put my nutrients in is I use a smaller cup. And I'm using Flora Nova nutrients, by the way. It's a 2-part system. It's by General Hydroponics. 1 teaspoon. I'm going to go ahead and put about 2 teaspoons in total. Because I'm going to go a little light, because I'm going to put 2.5 gallons in minimum. Get this nice and stirred up. Make sure you get all the remnants off the spoon, because believe it or not, that little gritty stuff that's on the spoon is where most of the micronutrients are held. Good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this in the funnel slowly. Move your head back. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this water that I have in here, and I'm going to put a little bit in through the funnel as well, just to flush out any nutrients that are in there. Okay, and then the rest is going to go through the top. So at this point I've got probably 1.5 gallons of water in there, so I'm going to add another gallon. Now it's also important to note that when you pour in water, do not use hot water and do not use cold water. You will shock the roots and in turn shock the plant, and you could potentially kill your plant. All right. So we are back at our level. Now at this point, you know, a lot of people will suggest that you keep lowering the water level. You can do that. The roots will continue to grow and your plant will probably get bigger. However, at this stage, I go ahead and keep filling it up to the same level, because the roots are eventually going to reach the water. A lot of people fear that they're going to drown the plant. In this particular case, I'm not too concerned about it, because this plant is still young and it is still technically adapting to its environment. So we're going to go ahead and put this back under the light and let it grow for another week, and we'll check the water levels again. It's best to go ahead and do another TDS test sample, but at this point I already know my mixture is pretty good, so I'm not going to worry about that on camera. But until next time.